Hey there, I want to tell you about something super special that I don't do very often, but I want you to know I practice what I preach. So I highly recommend people creating betas when they're creating new products. And I have a new product that I'm super excited about that I know will help you. We don't even have a name for it yet, but we're primarily calling it 2 weeks to 2K. So it's working together for 2 weeks, getting as much done as humanly possible so you can bring in a bunch of cash. And it's a lower priced product, so that way you can actually start working with me super fast. And of course, because it's a beta and it's the first time we're running it like this, we're giving you a big discount. And I'm going to be in the group like crazy because I want you to be an amazing testimonial. So if that sounds exciting to you and you want to learn more, go to eventualmillionaire.com/beta challenge, all one word. I know that's long, and sign up for that so you can get more information on what it is, how much it costs, all that fun stuff. And I cannot wait to work with you. I can't wait to see what your testimonials are, probably even more. So I hope you have an awesome, awesome day and enjoy the interview. Welcome to Eventual Millionaire. I'm Jamie Masters, and today on the show, we have my good friend Maneesh Sethi. He owns Pavlok. It's crazy. He's been on Shark Tank. He is insane, and I'm so excited to have him on today. Thanks so much for coming on, Maneesh.
I cannot wait to talk to you. It's been so long.
I know. First of all, it's always amazing having my friends on the show, especially when I know your whole trajectory. I've known you for quite a few years now. So can you tell everybody, because you started off as blogger, and now you're like this crazy owner of this crazy breaking habit company called Pavlok that was on Shark Tank. How did you go from that to that?
So my first job was Ramit's brother.
That's the only job, yeah, exactly.
So I grew up and I lived in California, and my brother Ramit from I Will Teach You to Be Rich was a big inspiration. I watched him as he became a blogger, went to the same school I did. But I was always very different. He was very focused and good at execution, and I would always be ADHD. My teachers would always write report cards saying, if only he could focus, he would be such a good student. And I remember my mom told me, Maneesh, you just need to drink more milk. That's the secret here. And so turns out I'm lactose intolerant. So anyway, as I got older, I left my school. There was a 2-year program I took off of college, and I started traveling. And I started a blog called Hack the System. And this blog, I focused on doing things in unconventional ways, like cheat codes for life, how to break into a new city by becoming a famous DJ, and how to learn a new language in just a couple months, and most importantly, how to become more productive. And I started tracking using a couple apps, my productivity online, discovered that I was spending 5 hours a day on unproductive websites. It was ridiculous. And so I started doing productivity experiments to see if I could increase that number. And my most famous experiment, I hired someone to sit down next to me, and every time I went on Facebook, she would slap me in the face. And my
best experiment ever. How come you didn't hire me to do that? Slap you every time. Come on.
Yeah, I've been looking for someone. Everyone says they want to do it, but then no one shows up.
Oh no, I would show up. Oh, you don't. You know me. I would show up.
I'll do it. But so as I made this, and this blog went viral. It was I got like 20 calls on NPR, a bunch of shows. And so I was really excited, and I called up a friend of mine, and I said, yo, wouldn't it be funny if we made a dog collar that could shock you every time you went on Facebook? And he said, let's go to Radio Shack. And so we did. We built this really joke one in a night. I changed a flight for it. And then I was about to post a video online that was really entertaining. And I said to myself, this is actually really interesting. There's a million other wearables out there tracking what you do. This one's changing what I do. Maybe there's something deeper here. And so it became the idea for, eventually I got very lucky. I tried for 3 months to make the thing happen. I remember calling my brother in the middle of March 2013, and I said, I really hope I figure out a way to make this prototype soon, because I know myself, and I will give up on this idea, and this might be the best idea I've ever given up on. Anyway, and so I gave up on it. I couldn't figure it out. Everyone wanted hundreds of thousands of dollars for prototype. And then long story short, in May, somebody mentioned this incubator in Boston that helped hardware companies start up by providing money and expertise. And I had a bunch of tabs open one day, and I decided to close all my tabs, and that was one of the tabs. And I spent like 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes on it, wrote 300 words. And out of 700 people that applied, they chose us as one of the people to invest in, Bolt. And so that began the journey. I moved to Boston, stopped traveling, started living. The biggest thing was being in a building with a bunch of other hardware people. And I got very lucky in that my idea is pretty interesting, but it works. And I'll say that over and over again when people ask me like how to make something become marketing, PR, how to make something grow. And I say the first most important thing you can do is make sure you have a product that solves a real problem. And ours was very lucky. It was a novelty joke item that we discovered had clinical testing backgrounds and cured addiction better than any other way of quitting addictions. And so we got very lucky. But regardless of what you do, making sure you have a good product was the first thing. And that's how I got here.
I don't know that it is luck, but because I remember when you're like, oh, I got funded and I'm moving to Boston. And I'm like, for what? Because you didn't tell a whole bunch of people that this is what you were doing, especially when you were the blogger. I mean, I know you did some things, but what's interesting is you didn't go like, I'm going all in and I'm going to go find all the incubators. You're like, oh, I could have closed that tab as easily as I could have written for investment. And like your whole life right now would have been changed.
Totally different. Totally different.
So what made you actually take the, not risk, but take the 10 minutes to actually do it?
Honestly, I had a lot of tabs open and I was at my sister's house and I think I was on a lot of Adderall. And I was like, today I'm going to close all the tabs.
Adderall works.
Hashtag. Don't do it.
I know, I'm kidding.
It's one of the things that I've used in my brain training and biohacking to understand how to execute. And I didn't understand this back then. Back then, it was just like every once in a while you take it. But using Pavlok and using it's been really interesting because I started tracking all my behaviors. And the app I'm building is building a solution for me. I don't think actually your users, we've really discussed what the product is yet.
No, not at all, but we will. Yeah, go ahead.
Should I talk about what it is?
Yes, because they don't understand how I'm scared to put this on because I'm afraid you can zap me remotely.
Yeah, but you can zap me anytime you want. Yes. Pavlok.com/shockmanish. I remember last time I made that live on a podcast.
I know, I was going to say this is going to be horrible. Don't shock him.
Sorry, it's fine. The thing is that the word shock is really a negative and a positive, pun intended, on what we do, because the idea of the shock is a shock factor. And people, okay, so what we do, this is the product. Pavlok is a Pavlok is a wearable device. It's a little module that you can insert into a wristband. You can put it on a clip that goes on your watch. You can wear it as a necklace. The device vibrates, beeps, and releases an electric stimulus at variable levels. It's biofeedback. We found that the vibration we use as a positive reinforcer. The beeping sound can be both a warning or a positive reminder. And the electric stimulus becomes an awareness indicator. It nudges you. And at high levels, it's an aversive. It's powerful against what you're trying to make you. And you can use it in both an operant conditioning and a classical conditioning way. If you're not familiar with those terms, don't worry about it. It's a behavior training device, and it can be used in a couple ways. So to use it as a classical conditioning device, this is how you quit a bad habit. It requires no app. It's just the device. You press the button, and it releases a strong electric zap. Pair that zap with a behavior you want to stop doing. If you want to quit smoking, if you want to quit nail biting, if you want to quit negative thoughts or unhealthy eating, for 5 days, make yourself do that behavior and zap yourself while you do it. Your brain creates a Pavlovian association until it feels a disgusting sense, a cringe towards that bad habit. The same if your readers, and I'm sure you, of course, if you ever got really drunk on too much tequila and then suddenly the smell of tequila makes you sick, or the morning after even, that feeling in the stomach, that's the same feeling you create from adding the zap association. So I used it on tortilla chips. I used to lick the back of my teeth. I used to curse, uhs and ums. Those were big ones. Now, when you take it as a operant conditioning device, this is where you pair it to your device, to your phone using the app. And this allows you to integrate with a few of our apps and user-created apps. So for example, there's a Chrome extension for productivity that knows every time you go on unproductive websites or if you go on open too many tabs, and it will vibrate, beep, and zap to warn you. It actually copies off the slapper in that it tracks my productivity on rescue time, and it'll my score gets low, it'll zap. If it's high, it'll vibrate. So I live for that vibration feel.
You're like, I am awesome. Go.
And then our most common use is the alarm clock. So we have a secondary product called the shock clock, which is able to vibrate to wake you up. Then you have to get up out of bed and do a behavior in order to prove that you have gotten out of bed. It's like jumping jacks. And then if you, it'll track your sleep. So it vibrates gently in the light stage of your sleep to wake you up and helps train you to become a morning person. So you don't need to wear the device forever.
Okay, what's insane is that when you started, when you had somebody slapping you on your Facebook usage, you didn't know that all this changing behavior advice was valid, right? Like, how did you even know that it was going to be able to do all this?
I still don't know. We still find out daily things that it can do. We just found one lady last week use it because she had a chronic cough and she got over her coughing using the device.
How?
Because
our brains are crazy.
Because a lot of behaviors are simply entrained responses. Stimulus causes a response. So you get this weird feeling in your chest and you cough to get it out. And you do that enough times in a row and that becomes a natural thing that happens. And the zap adds two factors. The first is the aversion towards it. But more importantly, it's the awareness of the behavior. You start to notice when you have that feeling. You start to notice the cough. And then in our app, in our courses on our app, we teach you how to use that awareness to adjust your thinking and thought process and behavior. So it's not all shock. The shock is the first step. It's a trigger and it's a button to press and a way to keep track, make yourself more aware. But over time, it's the rethinking process that really makes people succeed.
So how do we make somebody do that? Because even so, when I shocked it, I was like, oh, and I remember the first time you had a business card and you gave it to me. I was like, not cool. Now I'm never taking business cards ever again from Maneesh. But
the big irony we discovered is that people, if you get them too strong with the zap on day one, they build an aversion to the device.
Yes, I was like, oh no, I don't want to do it, and I did it, and I dropped it because so how do you make yourself? So when you actually do it, is it not that strong? So that way you don't feel like. I mean, I'm okay with pain in general, but oh my gosh, now I have an aversion to it.
Yeah, you do. And that's a big problem. It's a big freaking problem. Because there's
Why did you do that, Maneesh? So mean to me. No, I'm kidding. Most people won't have that issue. It's just I do.
Many people have that issue. And
Really?
that's a big deal. I mean, if you probably pressed the button the first time and it was set too high.
Yeah.
In the app, it starts very low and moves upwards. But realistically, there's two questions about that you just asked me. The first is, how do you start liking the device and try it on? And what I would say to you is you can set the zap to 0 and leave it on for a couple days and it'll just vibrate and just get used to it, because understand that, I mean, if you're willing to try it out, and I really hope you try it out for a few days. If you're willing to try it out, then like just leaving it on vibrate for a couple days, getting used to it being on your wrist is pretty cool. That alone. You know, you get used to a bracelet on your wrist.
I've got my Polar watch, so I'm sure I'll have matching on the other side too.
And now they balance out. But secondly, the second question and how people should do it is they should start off on a low zap and they should be expecting it to be strong and understand that the fear of the zap is more powerful than the zap itself. And that's why it works. But the second question that you indirectly asked is, how do I make it better for the users so that this never happens again? And I care about the number of habits changed. I've been trying to systematically do this. So our company focuses on number of habits changed as the key performance indicator of the company.
I like it.
And more than revenue, more than anything else, it's that number. And so when all of our meetings and all of our KPIs in every department are structured, it's all focused on how do we systematically break down that target. And so that involves tracking more behaviors and then being able to adjust behaviors for both everybody and for individuals, such that the product works for them. And it's like a funnel. If you're wanting a conversion rate, you can either have more leads or you can have more of a on-page conversion. And so right now, our focus is getting this product to work, in particular our issues, and we're finally overcoming them. Over the next quarter, our goal is to track more behaviors. And the next quarter is to begin instituting a variety of A/B tests for individuals and for habit patterns to see what works. For example, we believe that the first few days, you shouldn't feel the zap at all. You should press the button whenever you have the urge to do the behavior and it will track it. And that way, for the first 3 days, you're just understanding the count. Yep. And on day 4, we let you have 1 or 2 zaps. And then day 5. So we want to test this and make sure it works. And I don't know the answer. I think that it's going to take some testing. And I just hope we're faster than everybody else in the world.
See, what's so insane is like you're doing live data tracking with actual people that are like raising their hand that want some of this. Because this stuff is interesting anyway. This is the biohacking stuff that you were looking into way beforehand with your blog and everything. And now you actually have a subset of people that are also crazy like we are and are like, oh, change my behavior. Let's do whatever it takes. Use the latest technology to try and move there. So what can you give for advice for people for really, especially business owners specifically, for really trying to change their behavior besides, I mean, getting the device and testing it, but how do we become more productive in general?
So I got this new, it's an awesome oil that they take out of the body of a snake.
Okay.
And it's really good. It's called Focus Snake Oil. And I really highly recommend it. I'm just kidding. Obviously, I'm kidding. So
what's so funny though is the placebo effect is kind of there also. I mean, if you know anything about the placebo effect, if you told me there was an oil, I mean, I have peppermint oil, and I know every time I do it and smell it, it like wakes me up. And I don't know if it actually does that or not, but I think it does.
That does. Peppermint works. Okay, first of all, offline, I have stories about peppermint. Remind me.
Okay.
Secondly, what was the actual question?
So productivity, not snake oil. How do we actually improve people's
to make their million?
Yeah, like because I know you're into biohacking and stuff like that, and I love having people that actually know this stuff on the show.
Sure. So, okay, this is important. I guess this is really interesting. So, if you're looking at somebody who's trying to make their million online, I tried forever to get passive income, and I never did. And I tried forever to make a million online, I never did. And I only made a million online by accidentally building something that I thought was really cool and would have a big impact. And that happened to make $1 million online. No one becomes happy by searching for happiness. You do the things that happy people do, right? So if you want to, so there's two questions. There's two parts to this. First is mindset, and the second is process. So the first part of how do you get yourself to make $1 million? This is like people who make $1 million don't care if they lost that tomorrow because they can make $1 million tomorrow. They know how money comes and goes, and they don't think of cash as an asset, but they think of it as a flowing river. And most importantly, everyone's probably heard this, the abundance mindset. I found that changing your patterns is a lot easier if you start at the source, and the source is in the thoughts. The source is deep in the thoughts, and it's one step before that for many people, and that's the emotion. And the emotion is the same as a physical sense in your body. So identifying the origins of every single thing, that every thought you have, is critical. And you need to pick a few thoughts that you need to rewire. Those are the ones that are holding you back. The little voice in your head that says anything that's not what it should be saying.
Like and that voice, I know. Give me some thoughts. Like, so how do we pick?
For many people, it might be, I can't do this. I'm not good enough. How will I ever do this? I don't have any good ideas. But for many other people, it's like, and for me, I didn't realize that there was a negative voice. It's a distraction. It's like, oh, but do this. You could do this. You could do that. You could do that. And it's not that your voice is wrong. It's that you need to know what it's doing and that it's there. Until the 17 or 1800s, churches would tell people that voice in their heads was the devil talking them what they shouldn't be doing. Only in recent times have we reclassified that thought as ourselves. And one really cool trick that I've been learning is there's two tricks. So finding the voice in your head, if you listen to it, it typically lives in a part of your body. Emotions are senses. There's no difference. So listen to it and make it larger and see if it's a person you know, if it's a female, a male, what's that voice? And then try to move it around your body and your head and try to make it speak faster and slower. And if you do that every time you hear a negative thought, you'll be able to watch that dissipate. But you got to replace it with a better thought. And that better thought should be, what could I be doing? What should I be doing? How should I be doing this? Anxiety and negative feelings often happen down in the chest or the stomach. And in the same way, there's a sensation that you can feel in that chest, and there's a way it moves. And if you rotate your fingers as you try to imagine it, you'll notice in one way you get more anxious. And if you rotate it the other way, you get less anxious.
Really? Okay.
And if you speed it up, you can make yourself really anxious really quickly, and then you speed it backwards. And then you use that as a handle for whenever you feel those feelings.
Really? Okay.
Yes, I use that a lot. So those are cool tricks for mindset. But the most important thing is understanding that that there is a mindset shift, that people who have the mindset shift will make more money naturally. Secondly, you need to have a process. So this means that you are the average of the 5 people closest to you. This is going to help a lot with negative thoughts too. Get yourself around people who are slightly towards where you want to be, and go to events for people who are where you want to be, because the people who are on their way are going to be at that event, right? And you want to find people a little closer to you. Once you've figured out kind of what you want to build, and this is like, I don't know how deep you want to get in the question of finding out what to build, but then you need to have a systematic process and make yourself do things. So everyone know the problem that we see in different personality types is that one type will finishers tend to pick a set of actions and they'll do it to death, and they can overdo it if they pick the wrong action. Whereas perceivers will starters will often second guess that we should do this for the next 3 months, and then we make a list, and then we never check the list again, and then we say each day, oh, I should be doing this, I should have been doing that, instead of just executing on the list. Those, you need to understand your type and what kind of personality you have, and make sure that you put yourself in a position to get yourself to execute on what we.
How do they find out what type they are, so that way they know which rule to go?
So there's a few websites online that have good. So personality typing is many people don't believe that it's real or fake. People don't believe that it's real. And I don't believe it's real either, but I live by it. And the reason why is because it's a model.
Okay. I don't believe it's real, but I live by it. I love that.
Throw everybody's tendencies against a wall and you draw 4 arbitrary lines, you're going to get 16 boxes.
Yep.
Some people are going to be in the corner. Some people are going to be in the center. But it gives you a common language to talk about other people who are close to you. And you'll have more in common with those people than other people. And now there's like websites you can meet and search people who are. Anyway, so I like Myers-Briggs and Enneagram and a bunch of other models. They're all useful for different things. Myers-Briggs is the quickest, and it's the most useful for it understands how you make decisions and how information interacts with you in the world. Go to the website 16personalities.com. They have a decent test, but then you want to read through all the descriptions and make sure it's right. But the best book I've ever read is called The Art of Speed Reading People. I'd recommend that book.
Okay.
And soon we have personality in our app, but not by the time the show goes live. And so the biggest and most critical letter is that last letter, the J versus the P. It's the act of finishing. And people who are perceivers are often considered ADHD. Perceivers have the goal of they feel uncomfortable finishing things. They feel uncomfortable leaving things, like checking off list items. They like to start new projects before they finish one. And they are the opposite of judgers, who feel uncomfortable leaving things undone. They want to check off lists.
I'm a J. I'm like, can I just check it off, please?
Yeah. And the interesting thing is the act of finishing is highly correlated with almost everything good. You live longer, you don't do drugs, you don't get divorced. But it's inversely correlated with one thing, and that's creativity. And what we discovered is that people who have big ideas, who can't stop, who can't finish, they've gotten in the habit of building ideas. And that's not a bad thing. That's a superpower. There are proven ways to increase your level of J. There's to increase your focus, and that's meditation is a really good one. But there's no proven way to increase creativity. And so it's not a limitation if you're a starter. It's a superpower. The secret is to combine yourself with somebody who gets stuff done. So if you're a perceiver, you're never going to get stuff done. It's just not who you are, and you don't want to do that. So find an intern or find a person or create a business bank account, and in that business bank account, carve out a little bit for somebody that you can hire to help you execute on tasks. Give them the personality test and make sure they're a finisher, and then give them the guidelines for what you want them to do, and watch it magically happen. And that's how you build the business.
Magic, snake oil. No, I'm kidding. I love this. Because what I'm really interested in is how far you've grown as a business owner in a short time. Because Pavlok, how old is Pavlok right now?
Just about 3 years, almost.
Is it really? Wow.
Yeah,
okay. So but still, you've changed so much.
Yeah.
In 3 years, it's insane. So can you tell me about what it was like in the first year to 2 years in Pavlok and sort of where you are now? Because I know you've changed as a person as you're doing this. And I feel like a lot of the people listening need to understand that they're changing as much as a business owner too.
Yeah, that's a great question. You look back at yourself and you're not the same person, and none of the cells in your body are the same at all. And all you have are these weird memories of who you used to be. And so you realize that you can change who you are. And a lot of it comes from self-understanding. So when I started at Pavlok, I was still focused on hack the system. I love travel. I didn't like to settle down. I was scared of furniture and scared of apartment lease. And I think the biggest thing that happened in Boston was being forced to stay there for 6 months around people working on one thing. And so in my case, as a heavy, ADHD, my type is ENTP, visionary type. I got to see and absorb how people built these hardware products. And I started to try to raise money. And I started to, and actually, I think really most profoundly, I read that book, The Art of Speed Reading People, which really helped me understand a lot about it myself. And I started to realize that the things that I always was ashamed of and was solvable by other people, and that if you have a good idea and you can't finish, there are some people who like to fill out spreadsheets, and there are other people who like to design the spreadsheets that should be filled out, and those two people are never the same people. And so as I started to at the beginning of the company, I'm basically we had $50,000 and we put it in a business bank account. I said it twice because I was reading my yearly notes like yesterday from like 2015, 2014. And the first thing it said was get a business bank account. The mental change in your mind is humongous, because suddenly it wouldn't be like taking out of my own bank account, but it was a business expense. And that was huge for mental hiring. And then from there, it was about the first year was finding anybody who would work with me, because I had very limited funds. And as I found a few people who would work with me, and we started to build up the electronics, and I found some good people, and then you find a lot of bad people, and you don't know what you're doing. And I've had like 3 or 4 sets of employees at Pavlok who have all evolved. But as you grow and as you build your first product, getting a product out, there's something beautiful about a hardware product. There's so many parts of it. Like this thing has at least 14 people who built it, and it took $1.2 million to make the first one. And it was like because you have on the hardware side, you're going to have a mechanical engineer, an industrial designer, and an electrical engineer, and a firmware programmer. On the software side, you have an iOS developer, an Android developer, a back-end programmer, a front-end programmer. And then you have all your marketing and PR, and then you have customer service, and then you have shipping, and you have fulfillment, and you have returns, and you have vendor sales. And I have no freaking clue how we made it this far. If I
That's
could
what I was going to say. You're scaring the crap out of everyone, going like, hardware sounds crazy. Yeah, you didn't know that going in.
End of startups. I wouldn't recommend it to my worst enemy, especially because you'd be a competitor. So, but the cool part is that the harder the thing is, the more awesome it is, because now I have a natural moat behind me. Even if Apple wanted to copy off my idea tomorrow, it would take them 6 to 9 months before they could get it into the hands of consumers, because that's just how things work. And it's never been cheaper than before. Building a hardware product today is like building a web app in 1995. Like, it's hard, but if you do it, you're going to be one of the first guys, right? And so that's the beauty. And I think there's a big, interesting competition. No one knows what's happening in the wearable space, and it's really interesting to watch.
So exciting. Yeah. Can you tell me a little bit about the wearable space too? Because I'm really curious about that space in general, because I feel like the future of technology is just going way more than we can even imagine in like 10 years from now. And we're all focused on like next year. There's not going to be that much change.
Yeah. The amount of things that change in 1 year, you'll overestimate. And the amount of things you change in 5 to 10 years, you'll underestimate. Yeah. The wearable space and technology space is crazy. I'm sure you know all about this, but like things like crowdfunding have really changed the way that people can create new products. It's and the way that things connect really quickly. The world AI is an API, and I just made that up, but I like that. I should call it. But
I've never heard that before. No wonder you just made it up. That's awesome.
But like everything is being able, like with if this then that and stuff, everything connects really well. And so the wearable space in particular is very interesting, because I'm very confused about it, because I think my idea is obvious and it's like there, and still like I think that everyone's been so focused on tracking that no one's really thought about the changing. Yeah. And I think that there's a conception that I have that other people don't have, where Americans in general believe that they have willpower and motivation and they should do things, and that data is the next step. And experiments are of the utmost importance. And I believe that there are some obvious things, like axioms almost. Like if I have someone pointing a gun at my head all day and telling me to focus, I will focus, right? If I have someone slap me in the face, I will focus. So therefore, why do I not figure out a way to reproduce what works? Rather than trying to find out what would work, why don't I just do something I know works? And it kind of expounds from there. And so in the wearable space, getting back to your question, there's a big focus on tracking. Fitbit is Fitbit is the winner right now. It's the public company. It's the billionaire. Jawbone's dying. Nike's gone. Fitbit's left. And then there's a bunch of wearables when you consider like the wrist. It's all fitness trackers. There's really cool sensors now. Things like heart rate variability.
Yeah, I just got my new one. Yeah. But I feel like they're all in the fitness space. Is there anything else coming out that isn't just in the gosh darn fitness space?
There's like smartwatches, of course. But those are it. And then there's other things like headphones, Bluetooth headsets, which are cool. I've seen some cool wearables that like make you hot and cold. The blocks that comes out has modules. But the thing that's missing to me is, and the thing that we're trying to drill down on, is that we can't do everything. We can do a lot more than you know about. We do, like the shock is a sensory input, and we discover that it's powerful to use it as memory. It's powerful to use it as I zap myself every time I learn someone's name to remember their name.
Yeah, because pain actually makes you remember things more. That's insane. I didn't even think of that. Huh.
You can use it for a billion purposes. And so I don't know the answer. What I do believe, and I've said this before at a panel, in hardware as a service, I think that giving away the device and making it a subscription model is missing.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah, we're trying to build out what I'm trying to do is very, very different. I'll tell you offline because I can't be public. But we're beginning to I think that so we're trying to reward people by doing good things and help them stop doing bad things. And we discovered that there's a lot of cognitive biases that we all know and love to read the Wikipedia page for. And but people don't operate on it. And so we've been looking at all the experiments from really interesting cognitive bias research and trying to use it for positive goods. So like things like lotteries. We found this one experiment where you enter the lottery by walking 10,000 steps. And if you would have, and each day you have a 10% chance of winning, and you can win a lot. And then if you didn't walk the steps, you would get the message of what you lost. And that would walk a ton more. We found that like classically associating two different behaviors together is powerful. So like if you like to take walks and you want to read books, then if you walk and get to an audiobook at the same time, then you'll do the behaviors together. And so anyway, a lot of this stuff is really powerful. And I think that people aren't playing around with the act of behavior change. So
exciting.
Yeah.
I want to do an introduction to you after this. Also, everyone's going to be like, I want to hear you guys talking afterwards of something in sort of that space. Because I feel like we do not know nearly enough about our own brains, which is thankfully it's way more than the 1800s and it's evolved. But imagine, 50 years from now with the technology that we have, they were talking about having a pill that you take that calories don't affect you anymore and you don't get fat. It's like, oh my gosh, can't wait for that to come out. But that technology could keep coming. And I feel like you are on the forefront of the technology that we have for right now, which is only here because we're not that great with our own bodies and brains yet, but we're trying as best we can with external stimulus instead of, actually implanting things. So where do you see Pavlok going when you move forward? I'm sure you're the visionary. So tell me your vision.
Yeah. So I can't tell the core vision of what I want to do. I will tell you in broader terms. I'm trying to, my focus here is not on hardware. My focus is on behavior. And our goal at the company is to break 5 million bad habits in 5 years. So it's starting in 2017. By 2022, we want to break 5 million bad habits. And we have to approach that in a few ways. One is by improving the best software that can track all the behaviors and testing different changing mechanisms. Getting into medical, that's a big deal. We know we're a class 2 medical device, so we have to file some paperwork and do so paperwork will get us one kind of classification will get FDA cleared, but we want to do our own studies as well. So if anybody on the call is a researcher or academic or even interested in being a part of a study, if you go to pavlok.com/research, you can enter in your info and we can talk to you. So getting the ability for us to see the behavior and track it and improve it is critical. So the next 5 years, our goal by the time I die is to cure addiction. I believe that there's no person in the world who says, I want to do this, or a person in the world who says, I shouldn't do this anymore. If they press the button, they should succeed, and there should be zero chance of failure. And in my case, 0 is 0. And so that's the big goal. So coming back from there, we're seeing that there's a lot on the tech and the testing side. Another one is on the distribution side. So I'm really excited right now. We're beginning to be in retail. So we're aiming to be in our first retail stores by Christmas. Secondly, we want to open our own kiosks this year in malls and start to grow what is going to be essentially a habit store. So focusing on not just our product, but we sell products that relate to Pavlok and integrate with them. And lastly, we're beginning the production of Pavlok 2, which we aim, and you're the first person to know this, we aim to be out this year, but in no way am I promising that. And Pavlok 2 is just like a Pavlok, but it has the ability to, as a screen, it has the ability to detect your stress. Wow. So we'll be able to warn you when you get stressed. It's able to track your heart rate and I think heart rate variability, as well as the ability to, there's a screen and it has the ability to do other, it's waterproof. And that's
oh, nice. So you get shocked in the water. Lovely. No, what's so amazing though is as everybody's listening, yeah, of course he's a visionary. He's like, by the way, I want to cure all of addiction forever. Big But that's what's so amazing. So I know we have to start wrapping up in a second. Before I get to the last question, what do you think is the main business lesson you have learned in the past 3 years? Going from, like you said, broke, can't get passive income blogger to this huge company in 3 years, which is insane. What's that biggest lesson that you've got?
I don't know if I can give you the biggest lesson. Let me give you 48 lessons.
All right, go quickly.
Some of the biggest lessons, some of the biggest takeaways. I'll tell you the things that pop in my head. Number one, I've said them before, but I'll say them again. And so business bank account, huge deal. The art of speed reading people and understanding your personality, huge deal. The importance of understanding financials is something that you really don't think it's important, and it shouldn't be for your first couple of years. But it does become important. And the best book for when at the point where you're ready to hire new people and scale is called Scaling Up. Ooh, and you should bring that into your weekly meetings all the time. I've
interviewed Vern, and definitely everybody should get that book. That's ready.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing and the biggest lesson I've learned is that they're combined. There's two that are together. First of all, everybody else is wrong. Everybody else is just wrong. And so like, I'm not saying that truly, because obviously that's not true and you should learn from people. But like, you don't have to take other people's advice when they're wrong. And you're the CEO and you're the boss and you need to be sure of what you're doing. So even if you're wrong, it's better to be wrong and steadfast than correct and changing all the time. So don't feel bad when people say you're wrong, because they're dumb. So that's like one. So you're gonna have to worry about trolls, because I mean, I get it more than anybody you could ever imagine, Jamie. I mean, come on. And secondly, I think that's the big lesson is you're gonna be. Oh yeah, and then once you've got a process in place for what you're gonna do, train yourself with your organization and yourself to operate in at least 1 month, but ideally 3 month systems, quarters, where you do a process and you just do it and you track your KPIs and you do it and you don't deviate for at least a few months.
I do that with my clients. I make them, they have to ask me to change their goals if it's within a 3-month structure. Like, you have to actually get my approval and convince me that changing is okay. Because we have this, I have ADD too, right? We have this tendency to like go all crazy and nutso. All right. So last question, because I know we have to start wrapping up before your battery dies also.
I got it.
Oh, good. It's what's one action listeners can take this week to help move them forward towards their goal of 1 million?
You mean besides buy a Pavlok?
Yeah, of course. I should have mentioned that beforehand. Besides buy a Pavlok.
No, how can we get readers to help move towards their goal of $1 million? Mm-hmm. Plot out where you are today. Plot out where you want to be in 2 years or in 5 years, 2 years, 90 days. And check the behaviors that you want to start doing to get to that goal and do that goal. The best paper on this is the 1-page personal plan from Scaling Up. and I can send you the link
Sweet.
so you can send it to your readers and put it on the site.
Heck yeah. I love that. Okay. So thank you so much. I feel like business owners don't have the 20,000 foot view enough because we're usually in it so much. So being reminded that we need to sort of actually plan and move forward and not change our direction every time. Because unfortunately, we live in a world where Snapchat is awesome and Gary Vee talks about that and this is awesome and you should be doing that. And then of course we get bombarded by everything we should be doing. We forget our main focus and plan. So I love
Yeah, it's
everything
important to
going
also
in.
keep like in your organization one number you care about. That's your real number, and it's like your big goal, like your big. It's called the BHAG, big, hairy, audacious goal. What is the one thing that like if you could change the world in 15 years, the biggest thing you could ever do? What is that number? And then from that number, you pull back. What do you want to focus on as the key number you measure each day? Whatever you measure gets managed. So measure the right number. And I think that I'm sorry for running out, but like
I love it.
one thing is that people always choose vanity metrics, which really bother me. I wish I had a pen so I could show you, but like I'll just fake it. So like you have a graph, right?
Mm-hmm.
And every company has a goal of something they want to do. For us, it's changing bad habits. For other people, it's helping most people get their businesses started. For other people, it's getting the most rugs moved. Whatever it is, right? But people always choose a different metric to measure that's easier. So here is your graph, and here's your goal of whatever it is. And so you'll choose revenue as your line. And so the first year you get close to that goal, so you're happier, you're closer. And the next year you're even closer to that goal, so you double down. And the third year you notice you're at the same location distance. And the fourth year you're farther away, but you're too deep into the plan that you never actually are able to change 5 years into your company. And so I think that one thing that most companies don't do is pick the right goal and aim for it directly. We chose number of habits to change, and that's ours. And if yours is helping the most people get satisfaction around from coaching, then you should make the core of your business be satisfaction surveys, always identifying that number at all times for the customer lifecycle. Because if that's your goal, you'll have something that's real. And if you choose revenue, you're only going to be people will tell you to do all these things. Use Snapchat, be on social media, be on Instagram. But if you say, I want to make people measurably happier by using my product, then the goal is just surveying them throughout the process and making sure that number's cool, because everything else will fall from it. So I think that's something that I
adore that, especially because that's how you build a huge company. It's no longer about I make wristbands and I sell wristbands that do this and make changes. You can have a habit company that changes everything as technology evolves also, so you never have to update your KPI, which I think is amazing. Thank you so much, Maneesh. Where can everybody find a Pavlok and get one and all that fun stuff?
Go to pavlok.com/eventualmillionaire.
Ooh.
No spaces. And I'll get you guys a discounted Pavlok to try out. And you might also like our Knockout Sugar. It's a spray you spray in your tongue that makes sugar taste like nothing.
It makes it taste like nothing? No.
Yeah. Helps you reduce cravings and lots of other stuff. But anyway, pavlok.com/eventualmillionaire. And also check out there's cool guides on how to get different habits, breaking them. You can also get the app, which you don't need a Pavlok for. So you just get the Pavlok app on the App Store, and you can try taking the courses.
I think this is awesome. Thank you so much, Maneesh. It was so awesome to have you on the show. Finally! I've been trying to get you on forever, so thank you so much for coming. I appreciate it.
Thank you. It was great to chat.
I hope you enjoyed that interview. And if you want more like it, go to eventualmillionaire.com. If you click on the millionaire case studies, you will see over 200 millionaire interviews. I don't want you to get overwhelmed, of course, but I do want you to pick the one that might make the biggest difference in your business today. So what's something you're struggling with, and take a look and see if one of those could specifically help you. Don't just take information for information's sake. I want you to be able to take the information, have it applicable to you right now. You use it, you take action, you see results, you come back and go, Jamie, that was amazing. That's what I want. So go check out eventualmillionaire.com and click on the millionaire case studies. Thanks.